Hello lovies, it's me, Greta Grumble. In case you've been wondering what I've been doing during the pandemic, I've been reading romance novels. My favorites are the historical romances, mainly because I probably was alive during the time period when most of them take place. Actually, I like the fantasy of romance novels, with the men with the muscles and the long hair, because let's face it, the guys that I date are all bald, pot-bellied, and going deaf and blind. In fact, the other day I mentioned to one of them that he probably should take Viagra, and he thought I said, "Take me to Niagara," which probably would have been better than what I ended up getting from him. But I digress. Anyway, I have two romance novels I've recently read, and I'd like to discuss them with you, for whatever an old lady's opinion is worth, but you might like to read them too. One was by a New York Times best-selling author, and the other one is by a brand new author. So it's both ends of the spectrum. And get these books free from smashwords.com. If you get the same books on Amazon, they'll cost you like $2, $3 or whatever. And Smashwords, I got them for free. So I just thought I'd let you know that. Okay, the first one is by the New York Times best-selling author. Her name is Danielle Harmon. And the cover on this book called The Wild One, which is the one I read, she has many, but this is the one I read, the cover keeps changing. And I'm not sure why, but the most recent cover, he's wearing a lot of clothing, which I don't prefer. I don't know if you don't, but I'd rather have him like this. That looks better to me. Anyway, this novel takes place in the 1700s, and Lord Charles is fighting in the British Army in Boston. He meets this shopkeeper's daughter named Juliet, and he gets her pregnant, which in Boston and back then was like totally taboo, totally. So then, after he does that, he has the nerve to get killed. So there is Juliet. She gives birth to this little baby Charlotte, and she has no husband. Everyone is shunning her. So she decides to go to his home in England, where the Duke and the brothers, who are all lords, live. After all, she has an heir. She has an heir to the family now, so she has a right to be there. So she arrives in England, and she's mourning the loss of Lord Charles, her dearly beloved, that she was going to marry until he got killed. And so she's mourning until she meets his brother, Lord Gareth. Lord Gareth is this hunk. He's the one in the pictures. And right away she thinks, I wonder what he'd look like without his clothes on. And that happens that fast. I mean, there's not a lot of development in this relationship. It's like an immediate attraction. So anyway, the baby is in this novel. It seems like only a side thought or an afterthought, because the baby cries a lot. And the baby needs breastfeeding. But we never discuss the breastfeeding when she finally becomes an item. When Juliet finally becomes an item with Gareth, we never discuss the breastfeeding anymore. I mean, he's sucking her breasts and everything, and the milk is never mentioned, which I'm sure milk was there if she was breastfeeding. But anyway, Lord Gareth, has the mentality of a 14-year-old. He hangs around with a bunch of thugs, and they go around and do things like vandalize statues in the park. They'll paint the horses' bollocks different colors. And if you don't know what bollocks are, look it up. It's a British word. And they drink a lot, and they talk about, I feel like I'm going to barf. I don't think barf was a word back in the 1700s. I go back a long way, but I don't even remember that during my time. I think barf was a more modern term. But anyway, there are little loopholes like that in the plot. There is sex, and the sex just seems to happen. You know, it doesn't develop or seem romantic. It just happens. And I didn't like that as much as I would have liked to have seen it develop. It seemed to me almost like the writer rushed through writing this book, like she had a deadline. And so a lot of things weren't developed that could have been and made it much better. But it was well written as far as grammar and punctuation and descriptions. It was very well written, but like I said, the plot could have been much more developed. So I would recommend it, but not highly. The other book is by the new author. Her name is Ariana Eastland, and her book is called Too Far to Whisper. Now, this takes place in the 1600s in New England, which is an unusual setting for a historical novel. And it's about a woman named Rosalind. She has a secret that makes her never want to get married. Never. She vows never to be wed. But her mother has different ideas. Her mother wants her to get married. She does not want her to remain a spinster all her life. So she arranges for her to become the caregiver of the rich magistrate's ailing wife. And this rich magistrate and his wife just happen to have a couple of really hunky sons. And that's the point of her mother getting her the job there. She wants her to meet up with one of the hunky sons. Well, one of the sons, Nathaniel, he likes what he sees. And he decides, I'm going to go after her. But because she never wants to get married, she shuns him, turns her back on him, doesn't pay attention to him. And that really bothers him because he's used to getting any woman he wants. He's not used to being shunned. Meanwhile, out in the estate, which they have acres of land, they have one of their workers is a Native American named Shadow. He's very mysterious. He doesn't speak, but they don't know if it's because he won't or he can't. He has dark hair, dark eyes, and a body that won't quit. And Rosalind finds herself staring at him a lot. She likes what she sees. So there becomes a triangle with these three. And this one gets more and more desperate to have her. And as he gets more desperate, he gets diabolical. But when you're the son of the magistrate, you don't get punished when you do bad things. You get away with them. One thing I like about this writer is that she develops everything very well, and she also makes you feel what they're feeling. Not only the main characters, but she allows you into the minds of other people that are essential to the plot. And you want them to make love. You want the love scene to finally happen. And when it does, it builds up to it and builds up to it. It takes a whole chapter, her with one of these. And it's the best thing I've read in a long time. I needed a cold shower afterwards. This book kept me engrossed from page 1 right to the very end. And it kept me guessing what was going to happen. Who would she end up with? Who did she love? Was she going to marry one of them? One of them does propose, but which one proposes? It's all very good, especially for a first-time author. So anyway, I would highly recommend this one. And those are it for today. I have read more, and I'll talk to you about them next week if you'd like to have my opinion for what it's worth. But for now, I'll say ta-ta, lovies, and I'll see you next time.